Non-profit organization Action Society says VIP protection officers using blue lights act with aggression, secrecy and entitlement. And ordinary citizens are expected to submit without question. It follows the fatal shooting of an SANDF sergeant by two VIP protection officers assigned to the local Madibeng Local Municipality Mayor. Action Society National spokesperson Juanita du Preez joins us now for more on that. Juanita, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on. A quick perusal of the constitutional mandate, section 205, subsection 3 of the Constitution. It requires the SAPS to protect and secure the inhabitants of the Republic and their property, but also to protect the dignitaries and high-risk officials. What are we missing in that particular provision?
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity. Well, yes, it does say that, but it seems it's almost like Animal Farm, where some people are more important than other people, and they can abuse their importance instead of just do what it is supposed to do to protect all South Africans. Some are more important so they can have more protection, even escalating to the point of a roadside murder.
Yeah. So seeing that we've got legal basis for the establishment of these units by the National Police Commissioner, what do you think should be attached to that particular division to certainly, as you put it, ensure the safety also of civilians?
Well, for a starting point, and actually it's so confusing because I think South Africans think they know what to do in a situation when there is a blue light pulling them to the side of the road, or indicating they should pull to the side, or move aside just because somebody is in a rush. We think we know, and Michael Swanton did exactly what he was supposed to do. He got out and he asked for the identification, the appointment ID, and he got shot in the head for that. So we want to know that the law will be followed. If a normal South African follows the rules by asking for an appointment ID, then the blue light people should also follow the rules by not shooting people just because they asked for that. And we should also, there were so many questions in this case. Were they private police, or were they just like private bodyguards? Were they properly appointed? There are questions around that. Also, I wanted to touch on why have we not heard a word from the Madibeng municipality on what is happening? Is there going to be an internal disciplinary hearing? They've not said one thing. The guys got bail and they are out, and it reminds me so much of the blue light case that we are involved with, which is still in the High Court. Yes, in the High Court, where the same thing happened, and in their internal disciplinary, years after the event, they were acquitted, which I cannot understand why. But it also was a delayed justice, and this court case is still going on. Unlucky for, and unlucky isn't even the best word to say that. Michael Swanton paid with his life, and his family's in mourning, but these guys are out on bail for 20,000 Rand each. How do you, I don't know how to respond to that even.
Yeah. I mean, in the Deputy President matter, that particular trial date is set for March 2026. But even there was an attempt to drop the charges, which failed, by the way, in November 2025. But it paints a picture of several technical or legal hurdles that those who are bringing this matter to courts have got to overcome. Just talk to us about some of those legal hurdles that maybe need to be tightened a little bit more in the legislation.
Well, I think if we just look at the internal hearings, it needs to be much more transparent, because even in that case where we were involved so closely, the victims often didn't even know when the case was continuing, when they were supposed to be there. They heard through us when we inquired that they were acquitted. They weren't even informed. So that is just on the disciplinary side. Then on the court side, and we see this in the cases that we are more involved with, which is GBV, but it's the same pattern and trend that we see. It is so delayed, and there are so many loopholes. For example, they brought that application to have the charges dropped. Luckily, only one was dropped, and it wasn't the most important one. But they can stretch it out so long. And why? For something as serious as a murder in the Michael Swanton case, is the bail only 20,000 Rand? What kind of a precedent does that set for other people? That when you're politically connected, you have more rights than other people. And the pattern is there are no consequences. For a highway assault, it will lead to a roadside murder in the end. And how we bring it to the pattern in GBV cases is when perpetrators are granted bail or internal processes disappear, the dockets, and it doesn't get to the place where everybody thinks it should come to, the violence only escalates. And impunity is the oxygen for violent crimes. They use every single loophole they can, but the most important loophole that they use is delaying justice.
Yeah. So if you sum this all up, I mean, would you say what you are calling more for, including ensuring that they follow the guidelines as put in place, the executive that is being protected also follows the guidelines and actually is a little bit more involved, and three, of course, this legal ducking and diving. Does it come down to operational oversight? Do you think there is a lack of operational oversight on this particular division?
Yes, I think so. Not just on this division, but in the whole criminal justice system. It is being abused by criminals. It's being abused by defenders of the criminals. And in this week, I was just explaining to somebody how the whole criminal justice system is like an evil circle that just continues. The prisons are so full, and the recidivism rate is more than 90%. So people come out of prison, they commit a crime again. They have to wait a long time because the court rolls are so full. The prisons are so full because there's so much crime. It just keeps spiraling. Everything is failing. So it's not just the oversight, it is the whole system that is failing.
Yeah, because I was going to zoom in a little bit, because we've been listening, for example, to Ipid, in whether or not Ipid, you think, can play a much stronger role here in ensuring compliance with the guidelines and the rules of what the private security or SAPS, Private Protection Unit, can and cannot do, and who can actually participate in the protection of the executive?
I think they should definitely play a much stricter role, but the big problem with Ipid is it is managed to exactly the body which it is accountable for. So how do you take on your boss? So Ipid should be really independent. At the moment, it is not independent because it falls under the SAPS. How can you investigate yourself objectively?
Have you gotten any clarity to the questions that you would have raised? For example, who is allowed to pull over a motorist? When are they allowed to pull over a motorist? And what level of search are they able to conduct, and what force are they able to exact, etc., etc.? Have you put these questions to authorities?
We have done in the press. We are keeping an oversight on this case because we have turned a bit more to GBV because it's still vulnerable people, but there are already so many other people involved. But we have questioned in the press what is going to happen, and we are keeping a close eye because it does play into the case where we are involved, and because if it creates a precedent that when you are politically connected, when you are in power, you can get away. So what hope does it give to a woman who is the victim of GBV? If these guys get off, then why should the guy who assaulted her not get off as well? It's very frustrating, and we keep an eye on it because we believe that South Africa should be safe for all people, and that people in power should not abuse that right and put these South Africans in danger. It's completely the opposite of what they are supposed to do.
Juanita du Preez, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. She's speaking for Action Society. She's the national spokesperson there, raising issues around the blue light officers, saying they are exposing South Africans to unchecked power. They act like blue light mafias, really. This following the fatal shooting of an Air Force sergeant who was stopped by two VIT protection officers.